So, hey, welcome. How are you? I'm hearing again.
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. It looks like you're. Did you cut that background? Are you at the store to cut the
No, I'm at home on my couch, but I thought this is a way cooler background.
background? I don't know, but I thought like I'm high because it looks really nice.
It looks really weird, right?
But it's
Big
okay.
fan.
I mean,
It was either that or I was going to put myself outside somewhere cool because, we don't get to do anything anymore.
weird fits to you, so all good.
Fair.
So, I see your shop is still open.
Yes.
How's everything going?
Uh, it would be a lot better if we hadn't opened up when a pandemic started, March 9th. We're doing okay, considering.
So I'm gonna ask something right away. You know, I'm no filter, you're no filter too. So why is a bakery essential?
What?
Why is a bakery essential?
Oh, it's because it's food. All food service is considered essential because people don't have access to food and can't cook at home. Not everybody does. So, because I fall under food service and food service retail,
I mean, there's people that will die maybe because of yours. I get it.
I mean, you come in and get pretzels.
I know. So for everybody who don't know you, tell your name and who you are, and let's go from there. I can't tell. I can't say your name. It's French, I guess. I even don't know why. Is it
It's
French?
actually Cajun. My name is Celine Duvoisin. I own Valhalla Bakery Orlando, Valhalla Bakery St. Pete, and Valkyrie Donuts, which is also in Orlando.
So now you started working, like I want to show the people like two things. First of all, like your weight loss journey, what is
Okay.
impressive, and also your journey from you were drug addict, like you have problems, you were in a bad place, and how did you become to a successful business owner? And like,
Okay.
let's start with the second one. Like,
Okay.
really in a bad position. Like, I don't know how many years ago.
So when I was young, which is a long time ago, uh, I had a lot of family issues. So I ran away from home and I joined the circus. And I traveled across Canada with the carnival I was 14, I think, is when I was traveling with them. And I discovered crystal meth and heroin at a pretty early age. So I lived on the street after I left the carnival, and before I left for the carnival, I guess I had just kind of like run away from home, and discovered that crystal meth was awesome, but then discovered that heroin was also super great. It's not. Please don't take that as real advice.
But it is,
So I was an IV drug user. I don't have many veins left or anything in my arms, and have a lot of vascular damage from it. Um, but yeah,
how did you became out of that? Like, it's not that easy.
it's not. Part of it is that my Oma and Opa, my grandparents, uh, survived World War II. My Opa fought the Nazis in Holland and, obviously all over Europe. And my Oma hid families in her basement. And so it was a really pressing thought that my family had survived this huge ordeal, that they'd overcome so much, and I had decided that it was okay to stick needles in my arms and throw away that life that they had given everything, and so many people had given up their lives, and here I was just throwing shit away. So I was just like, you know me, A lot of people don't, but I'm 100% something or I'm not. If I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to fucking do it. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to fucking do it. So when I decided I didn't want to do drugs anymore, I stopped completely cold turkey, and I have never touched anything since then. The same with alcohol. When I decided I was going to stop drinking, I haven't had a single drink since that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I know how hard it is because I was not I didn't take that hard drugs like you did, but I was really big on coke. Like, I was um I was working in the nightlife and I was taking at least 5 6 day a week. Like I talk about like 4 or 5 grams a night, like with
Yeah.
1 2 bottles vodka, and for me it was the same. One time I was then in a bodybuilding show first time, and then I said, "Why they look better than I do? Because I work out too." And then people were laughing at me. They said, "You're partying all the time." And
Yeah.
from that day, I stopped drinking and doing it, and I think 4 years I didn't have any sip of alcohol. Then now, I mean, when somebody celebrates a birthday, I take a sip, but I'm not drinking more than that.
Yeah. I mean, I drink Diet Coke and Crystal Light. I'm good there. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I'm missing out. When I stopped drinking, everybody was like, "Oh, you're not fun anymore. I remember when you used to be fun." And I'm like, "Okay, but I'm pretty great." And I don't have a problem with that. I'm happy to not do that, and I'm more than happy to go to your thing where people are drinking, but I'm not going to be there for longer than people have 2 drinks.
Mm.
You know, people have like their 2 drink maximum. I have a 2 drink maximum where if people have 2 drinks, I'm gone now. I don't want to deal with your bullshit. Also, I'm drinking water. It is liquid death canned water. It is not a tall boy.
For me, I crave mostly for alcohol when I'm stressed, like when I have a lot of in my mind, and I crave for it because alcohol makes me relaxed. And
Okay.
I don't like to smoke weed. I hate weed. I tried it so often and I don't like it. And alcohol calms me down. Like I'm relaxed, my muscles are relaxed, and that's why I crave sometimes, like once in 2 3 months, like to not think about everything. You have so much stuff in your head every day.
Getting stuck
Uh,
with your fucking thoughts is the worst.
yeah, and like alcohol helps you at least like a couple hours being relaxed and not think about,
It's
but
true.
that's not the solution to it. So
Nope. And I mean, it's just a temporary thing, right? It's a band-aid to a problem, and then it just makes things worse because alcohol is a depressant. So then you come out of that funk, and then you're fucked.
yeah. So then, how did you like? I know how you started working by Publix, I guess. So
Yeah.
you were working at some point in Publix in bakery. So
So when I moved to the United States, I didn't get a green card for a little while because I'm Canadian. Uh, and when I was first able to work, I obviously frequented Publix because when you live in Florida, that's what you do. Um, and I was like, oh, I lived in a weird little town, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I decided that I was gonna go to Publix and I was gonna be a cake decorator. So I was hired as a part-time bread clerk, which sucks. You're just literally getting paid minimum wage to slice bread. And every night I would get my shit done because that's how I am. I'm like a very, very hard worker. And I would get everything done. And then I would go over to the decorating side and I would practice decorating and I'd look at what the other girls were doing and I'd watch videos. Um, and I'd go like on cake decorating websites and I learned everything I could possibly learn. And so I showed my manager what I was doing and he was like, what the fuck? Like, when are you doing this? And I was like, well, at night. He's like, how do you have time to do that? And I was like, I get everything done like 2 hours early. And he was like, okay. And so
were you
I just,
at that time also eating those cakes or only decorating?
uh, well, I would eat like the stale, because when you work for Publix, like at that point in time, uh, you needed to know what the product tasted like and you wouldn't get in trouble. So I would definitely eat carrot cake a lot because carrot cake's fucking delicious. Uh,
Vegetable, I mean, you can count it as vegetable.
yeah, no, you can.
Yeah.
And fresh bread was obviously a weakness. So every time fresh bread would come into the oven, like we'd nick a sesame French bread, fill it with garlic butter, and just fucking eat that entire thing. Yeah.
Then what did your boss say? Gave you another position?
So I made it to a decorator position and then made it very quickly. I started as a part-time clerk, I think on May 13th. And then by the end of the year, I had managed to like navigate crazily and gotten a lot of raises and was a full-time decorator, which is just unheard of at that point in time to just progress that quickly through the system. And then they had like a minimum amount of hours you could work before you were eligible for promotion. So I took all of my tests before I was eligible. And then as soon as I was eligible, I got promoted within 2 weeks of the eligibility coming up to assistant bakery manager. And then I did that, learned absolutely everything I could possibly learn, more than anybody cared about knowing. And I learned all of the computer systems and the backgrounds and how like reports tied into each other to understand all of like the key things that you needed to know to successfully run a bakery and the background stuff of bakery. So then I very quickly got promoted to bakery manager, and then worked my way through a lot of different stores and did a lot of grand openings for them. Every time there was a new store that was opening up in an area, they'd bring me into it to do all of the cakes and do bakery openings. And then I did that for a few years, and as soon as I was eligible to apply for retail improvement specialist, I started doing that, but I was working towards that. But I also realized that it really wasn't something that I was passionate about anymore, because when you work for a company like that, they own you. And I can't say enough great things about Publix, because it really taught me production, and it taught me how to scale recipes, and it taught me how to get everything done without stressing. Like, just put your fucking head down and plan your day on like, okay, what takes how many minutes, so what can I get done in between these things, and like literally stagger everything exactly so you can get 20 things done where everybody else is working on one thing. So it taught me so much about that. So when it came time for that retail improvement specialist position and I was getting groomed for it, I actually decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. And I emailed my district manager and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to step down to a decorator, and I'm going to work 40 hours a week, and I'm going to move on with my life. And so I did that. And then I started Valhalla while I was working full-time as a decorator for Publix, which you're really not supposed to do. But everybody kept telling me small bakeries don't make it. Small bakeries will never survive. And I was like, we'll see. No, nothing anyone has ever told me is impossible has ever stopped me before anyway. So when everybody just kept saying like, you're not going to succeed at this, I was like, all right, cool. Well, whatever. Well, if it doesn't, oh fucking well. Like, I lived in a fucking parking garage when I was fucking 14 years old. I'm completely fine failing at this, but I'm not going to be fine not trying.
Yeah, I mean, people say, there's a saying, people say it's impossible till somebody does it. So when you don't try it, then it is impossible because you even didn't try it. So
exactly. And John and I always say that like, people on their deathbeds never die thinking, I wish I had done less. I wish I'd been less successful. There's so many regrets people have about, I wish I'd tried. There's this thing that I really wish I would have done. And I don't want to die with regrets of having never like really pushed myself to be successful and see the world and travel and push this as best as I can possibly push this and see everything I possibly can see come out of this. And I don't want to look back and regret that. So it's okay, I'm going to fucking do everything I possibly can do to make this as successful as I can, to create as many jobs ethically as I can, not by stepping on people, but like paying people's 401ks, making sure people have access to health insurance for a reasonable rate, making sure people are well taken care of, well paid, living wages, and be part of the change that we need to see in this country of like, okay, well, you're working what people would consider a shitty job or like a low paying job, but you're making like 18, 19, 20 bucks an hour. And that's, creating that kind of job is really important to me.
Why? How did you came with the idea to do a vegan bakery?
So the idea wasn't a vegan bakery. Originally, I did everything, and then I realized that I'm really, really good at science with figuring out egg-free and dairy-free, which is why you'll never see that I advertise as a vegan bakery. You'll see that I advertise as an egg-free, dairy-free bakery, because that's something that I'm super passionate about doing, is making food that's accessible for a lot of people, but no one feels like they're missing out on anything. You don't come into my bakery and eat a fucking pretzel or cupcakes or a slice of carrot cake and go, this would be really good if there was fucking eggs in it. You're just like, oh shit, this is really fucking good. So it's the challenge of being able to create a really good product minus two really traditionally important ingredients in bakeries.
The most important thing is to do it with love.
Yeah, honestly, it is. If you don't give a fuck, people can tell that in your product. And if you give a shit and you create recipes that show that you give a shit, people will see that.
Yeah, and I mean, your bakery is like, you don't say it's good for vegan, it is good bakery.
Yep.
It's not like it's, oh, it's good for vegan. No, it is good bakery. Like, you don't even, it's comparable with regular bakery.
Yep.
That's
That's why I don't ever even, like, when I was getting a tire from this dude in Tampa, brought me a tractor tire for flipping. I gave him a bunch of stuff and I didn't tell him it was vegan. So later he texted me and he was like, holy shit, that stuff's really good. And I was like, oh, by the way, it's vegan.
Hmm.
And he was like, what? And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I guess other people in Tampa knew who I was and like what it was. And they were like, what? Oh yeah, her shit's really good. But he just had no idea, because there's not a reason you would know.
Yeah. But then the Orlando one was successful. Did you open first in Orlando or first in St. Pete?
So Orlando's been open for going on 6 years now. So after I started doing the farmers markets, as the business grew very quickly, and I did a lot of wholesale, as the business quickly grew, a friend of mine and I partnered up and made Market on South, which is our pass-through entity that houses both of our stores. So as that business grew, I was able to like hire people and bring people in, and him and I opened that storefront together. And it's been very successful, and the business has just continuously grown every year. We'll see about this year. And just, we make a ton of birthday cakes. We make a ton of wedding cakes. We do a lot of deliveries, and wholesale's a little bit less right now because we decided to give up a lot of our wholesale in order to be able to focus on what we have in store and be able to service our customers better. So then I opened Valkyrie Donuts, I think 3 years ago, with my partner in crime there, Steven. And then this last year we moved to the St. Pete market, but we just reopened from having a pop-up temporary space into our own space March 9th, right when the pandemic started.
So, I mean, it's now hard to plan that, but do you have any plans to open something in Tampa? Like, I thought about like maybe Hyde Park. That's like a fancy area. And
No, honestly, like I try to not kill my own demographic, right? So Tampa is a 30-minute drive from St. Pete. People are willing to drive 30 minutes for a quality product. So if I put another store in the Tampa market, I would be cutting and digging into the St. Pete market.
Mhm.
So it makes more sense. We're looking at investing into the Orlando market better and redoing our store there, because I think that's a better option, is just create a nicer, bigger space for that market. And then after that, potentially look in other areas. I'd like to open up a store in Canada, because there's honestly what we do is really lacking in a lot of areas, and I don't go into a market share where there's already somebody that does the thing that I do, because that's not fair to them.
I think also Chicago would be nice. Chicago has good bakeries, but I didn't saw a lot of vegan bakeries. Like,
One of my really good friends actually just opened up a vegan bakery in Chicago, so I would never touch her market share.
yeah, the bakery in Chicago is really good too.
I would Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, is a great market. There's not really anyone there doing what we're doing. There's a lot of really great markets that are lacking, so we would look at those areas first.
Right now, it's a really boom like with people who selling cookies and stuff online.
Yes.
It's something in planning that you want to sell like nationwide. I mean,
not really.
I'm losing you. Oh, no, it's good.
Okay. I don't. That market is not my favorite. I love getting product to people, but you don't have product control over the product once it leaves you, right? Like, that product will show up whenever the fuck it shows up. I've had jars, like one of my girlfriends lives in New York City, and I shipped a jar to her restaurant because that's where she is all the time. And she worked at a very famous restaurant. UPS or USPS couldn't get her package to her. She eventually got it a month and a half later.
Wow.
So then I take a hit on that, right? Like, now that product that I've sent out is obviously no good.
Yeah.
And that's happened so many times. We have enough of a market share where we are, where we can, right now we are shipping as an additional revenue stream because stuff has dropped off so much because of COVID-19. But I'd rather leave that to those people. If people are happy shipping stuff and like that's what they're passionate about, they can have that market share. I'd rather service customers that I can have that interaction with face to face and have a relationship with my people.
I think, what do you think about to sell to bars, restaurants, or even like, let's say you have good connection in Publix and you have cookies or something vegan that you can sell them. That would be a big step for you.
So we've done a lot of wholesale. I, again, don't love wholesale. The reason I don't love wholesale is we're doing the exact same amount of work for, so say a whole cake, right? I charge $50 for an 8-inch cake. If I sell you the exact same cake for $30 so you can make a profit margin on it, most people want 100% markup, so it would be they'd want a cake for $25. I'm now losing half of that income where I could have just sold that cake out of my store. And so for me to be able to keep my revenue high so I can continue to pay for health insurance, so I can continue to pay my staff a living wage, I would rather serve, again, people in our market share and get it directly into the hands of consumers. You lose a lot of control when you're doing wholesale. A, you're making less money, but B, you don't know how they're handling that product. We've had issues where people were holding cobbler jars for like 3 weeks in the fridge and serving them to customers. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you can't do that. And she was like, oh no, it's fine. We do it all the time. And I'm like, that's got my name on it.
Mm. I mean, people are always jealous or like think like, oh, it's so nice you have your own bakeries and stuff. Explain them how much stress it is. Like, I saw how much stress even the opening was. Like,
Oh yeah, I work 32 hours straight, and I'm not talking about like casually or I like worked a day on or day off. Cammy and I literally worked for 32 straight hours. We were in the bakery for 32 hours making product. Most people will not have the ability to fucking grind. Like, I work 7 days a week. Some of those days I might not be in store, but I work 7 days a week. I get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and I work my solid baking shift. And then after that, I have to take care of, I do all of our social media. I do all of our website management. I deal with all of my employees. I have over 30 people that I deal with. So I'm dealing with personality conflicts. I'm dealing with every single issue that comes up falls on me. Customer complaints, ultimately, if they get escalated, they come to me. Comments on the Instagram, that comes to me. DMs, that comes to me. So constantly I have things to deal with. And then on top of that, you know, I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, I have other people that I have to answer to and respond to. So my entire life, yeah, it's super cool that I have a bakery, but while I have that bakery, like, people have to understand that your business actually owns you.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's no matter what, this is mine. And ultimately every single decision falls on you. Like, right now with the COVID-19 problem, okay, do I stay open or do I close? I have to take the brunt of that decision because I own my company. I own 100% of my company. So I don't have business partners that I can run stuff by. It's literally the ultimate decision comes to me. So there's a lot of times I have to make decisions where you're like, people's houses and their livelihoods and their families are relying on you in that situation to make the best, most informed decision possible. And if you want to fucking talk about pressure, talk about figuring out how to make sure that you can navigate something so 30 people can fucking afford to buy dinner that week.
And also the opening, like till you opened the store, it was so much stuff went wrong. Like tell them how much it went wrong till you when did you start planning to open the, like it was like 6 months or 7 months.
So initially, I'm going to turn on the light here because it's gotten very dark. So initially, hey, look, I have color again. Initially, when we signed the lease on the space, we were supposed to be in that store and operating by, at the latest, it was supposed to be September. So, you know, obviously September came and went and we weren't there. And then I told them, I was like, I need to be open by Halloween because I have like key holidays that I have to be open at. Like, holidays are where I make the majority of my money. We break even all year long, but if I want to be like exceptionally profitable and putting money in the bank for our next projects, that's where holidays come in.
Like Thanksgiving.
Oh my God. Like Thanksgiving. So our architect fucked up so many things, and it just dragged on and on. So we missed Thanksgiving. So what ended up, we had closed our pop-up space. One of my girls that lives in St. Pete ended up having to go back to Orlando, and she actually lived with my husband and I in Orlando there for a little while, and then was working at the bakery there. Her and I ended up working, again, a straight probably 28 hours, and made 500 pies together, and then had to turn around and deliver all of those pies to St. Pete.
Damn, 500 pies.
Whereas if we just fucking had an oven here, it would have been so much easier because the biggest problem was, you know, we've got one oven and we're doing pies for both cities, and then it's an hour and a 45-minute drive. So then you have to get everything packaged, cooled, get it delivered down here to this store in time for customers to start buying us. So we had to start working at like 8 o'clock the night before at the very latest. You know, so you're just fucking working and grinding. And that's like, it's about 3 days to make all of the pies for both of the stores. Thankfully, we dropped wholesale in Orlando the week of Thanksgiving, so we were able to not have to do that. But literally, like, we had the biggest, they're called Cambros, but like giant restaurant containers full of pumpkin pie filling. and we just had these huge immersion blenders, and we were just making these like massive 22 quart, 28 quart pots of every kind of pie filling, and then fucking just filling pies, baking pies, everything, just constantly. And it's brutal. It's fucking brutal. And then Christmas was the same thing. So then you have to figure out what items can travel well. So like you're making all of the items for the Orlando location out of the Orlando location. So they have better items because it's their home front and they can keep making them. And then we had to try to figure out what items we could get down here and then set up ways to get them to customers. The store's not done. You know, we're in the middle of a fucking construction zone, getting customers to come into this space that doesn't have fucking power on the promise that one day we'll have a functioning bakery. We promise we will. And just try to get people in, and it just was fucking brutal. Like, it was brutal. It was costing me probably $10,000 a week to not be open. I lost a lot over that, and then because the architect fucked up so many things, there was like things that ended up costing me more and more money because they'd have to be redone. Like at one point we found out that the ceiling next door had, in one side of the suite, had to have fire rating, and so that was a $10,000 fix. And then like my hood vent that the fire inspector requires in the city of St. Petersburg, that was $12,000. So it was just one thing after another, just getting hammered with costs. And then eventually, when they were like, okay, we're going to be able to get your certificate of occupancy, we had 3 days. Because I was like, we can't wait another week. And you can't really open midweek. Like, that's just, with this kind of business, weekends are your bread and butter also. So we wouldn't be able to open because we got our certificate of occupancy Friday. So we literally had to go in, I think, Friday afternoon. And then we spent all of Friday, all of Saturday. I think I slept like 4 hours Friday night, all of Saturday, and then worked all day Sunday from open to close, making stuff and just like fucking shoving shit in the case. Like, it didn't matter. It was like, okay, make everything, because we should have prepped for a week, but we prepped for 1 day because we were like, we can't keep not being open. We can't keep pushing back the date. So it was literally just like balls to the fucking wall, get everything done, no fucking sleep. But then at that point, the adrenaline, right? Like, you start, this is before we all had to be 6 feet apart. So like, you look out and there's this fucking line of people going down the block before you open. And an hour before we open, I realized that I didn't have a cash drawer. Like, it was so last minute. I didn't have any change bank or anything like that. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to like come home and search through every dollar and shit. This is an hour before we're supposed to be opening. Like, I'm exhausted. I'm digging for fucking change. Thankfully I had some of the change from the store that we'd shut down still here. And then I had like $120 in like ones and fives and shit. So we like shoved all of that in the register. I took some money out of the bank. Everybody was like, okay, I've got $20. No, we didn't even get to the bank first. Everybody's like, okay, I've got like $20. And I'm like, okay, I've got $100. And like, then somebody ran to the bank and went and got change. No, we went to Publix and got change to be able to just fucking operate that first day. So thank God we opened on Sunday and then we're closed Monday, Tuesday, because just like this weekend, we had nothing left. There was nothing.
Damn, that sounds like a pain in the ass. So everybody who is listening that and want to open up a business, that's what comes to you. So you can't
literally, like, it owns you.
Yeah, you
But
can't expect everything goes well. Also, it's always something that you can't plan. So, what advice would you give somebody who plans to open up his own business?
I would say plan to have twice the amount of money that you think you need, because that's what I've run into in all three stores has been money. It's always you need more money. So if you think you need $200,000, have $300,000. If you think it's going to take 6 months, double it. Because Market on South, when we opened that took a year longer than it was supposed to. Valkyrie Donuts, when we opened that took 6 months longer than it was supposed to. This took 6 months longer than it was supposed to. Every single one of those projects took so much more money than we had planned for, and took so much more time.
But how happy are you now with the end result? I mean, I saw
I love it.
it looks beautiful, like the style and the atmosphere.
It honestly, it's a beautiful space. We love it. Um, the hilarious thing is, right before we opened, Mike and I were trying to figure out chairs. It was such a big deal because, like, when you have chairs, you're investing in that. Your chairs have to, like, kind of reflect that you've pulled your design together. It's really a finishing touch, but you need them to be comfortable and you need to be them to be aesthetic and like tie in. So right before we opened, we spent $3,000 we didn't have on chairs. And now no one can sit in them.
Yeah, it's crazy is you even don't think about that a chair is gonna cost that much, And like
No, and it was only like 26 chairs or 28 chairs or something. But one of the things, like with restaurant seating, is you have to make sure that it's got a minimum 250-pound weight rating, because fuckers like you. I need to make sure Kanur can sit in his chair.
In a couple of weeks, I can't. After quarantine, you need to get new chairs. Believe me.
It's those things, like, you have to make sure it's a well-made chair. It's going to be comfortable. Like, we have some bar chairs, so it's bar height chairs. So, like, there's little things that you wouldn't think about. Like, does that bar height chair have a foot bracket so you can rest your feet on it so you're comfortable? I didn't fucking expect $3,000 in chairs, but yet here I fucking am.
What do you think? Why is your business so successful?
I think my business is successful because I give a fuck. Part of my business is based on who I am. Customers love to interact with me, and they love that.
I think they are scared.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
Take this money, take the tip. It's okay.
But the other thing is, like, in all seriousness, if you are making a product, and my husband and I talk about this all the time, the product that you're making, your 100% of that, what you put into that product, your 100% when you make it, has to be so fucking phenomenal that when you make it yourself, it has to be so fucking perfect that when somebody that doesn't really give a fuck comes and works for you and only makes it 75 or 80%, their 75 or 80%, your product still has to be better than everybody else out there. Mm-hmm. So if you have a product where your 100% really is like a 75, the product that your staff is going to put out is going to be more like a 50. And nobody wants to eat a 50 cookie. People want to eat a fucking 120 cookie consistently.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your husband is also very successful in his job. He's a very famous barber in Orlando.
Yes. And
does that help for you? Like, when you have your own business, he has business, is that a motivation?
No. What it is difficult sometimes. Because how we both think about things is so different in the landscape of what he does versus what I do. So solutions that work really well for him might not work for me. And solutions that work for me totally don't apply to him. So sometimes when we're trying to figure out or navigate through a problem, we're not speaking the same language because he's speaking barber, which is, you know, a much more cut and dried, male dominated. You have a lot more male barbers than you do female, whereas 99% of my staff are women. And so I'm dealing with a very different, I'm dealing with a lot more like feelings and emotions, and he's got a lot different drivers behind his people. So there's definitely some navigating that has to happen in conversations when we're trying to figure out what the best route is something, or if we're like, if I've been like, John, I need your help with this, or he's like, Celine, I need your help with this, we have to be like, okay, so in my application, how do I take what works and change it to work for what I do? Honestly, if he was a slacker, we wouldn't be together.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when he wouldn't be disciplined and has his own shop and be successful, it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be together with him.
No, you know me well enough to know that I'm not going to put up with no scrub. If somebody's not willing to give their 100% to what they're doing and be passionate and enjoy their life, I don't have time for that shit. I want people in my life that are going to be awesome and bring things to the table.
I'm the same, but that makes you very alone. That's the problem. Like I have not really a lot of friends because I hate when people. I hate when people around me are drifting around, have no goals, and like live the life like they even don't know what they do tomorrow. You know?
Yeah, and I know I drive some people insane because I don't make plans. I won't make plans because plans drive me crazy, because my entire life is like, oh, what does tomorrow look like? I don't fucking know. You know how many times I've been like, okay, we're going to do this thing, and then like the plumbing explodes or the oven breaks or like something fucking huge and major happens. So that's why I don't make a lot of plans. But whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do it 100%. And that's the same as you.
Yeah, but
if you're going to do something, you're going to fucking do that thing.
Yeah, but you are still planned. I mean, I know you. You eat how you should eat normally. You train. You go to work. It's not like, oh, I don't know if I go to work tomorrow. You know, you go to work.
Oh, yeah.
Plan too. I mean, like people don't know like what they do tomorrow, literally, you know?
Yeah.
You don't know
No.
maybe how it comes out, but you know what you need to do tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't sleep well at night because of all of the pressures all the time. Sometimes I just want to fucking unplug, lay on the couch, and have zero responsibilities. But the weight of having like 30 people relying on me, and not to mention just my staff, but then my customers, right? We service 130 people a day. Every single one of those people has an expectation. So if we don't do what we're supposed to do and we don't do our 100% best, we've just disappointed a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, I mean, desserts are important. I mean,
especially right now.
Yeah, I have the feeling people eat right now more than they ate before.
People are definitely eating snacks.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I'm the person, when I know I'm not active, I'm not eating shit. But the most people really don't care. Like, I see the Domino's pizza is like literally every 5 minutes at the front desk. Like, it's insane.
I've had pizza 3 times since quarantine. But I'm also working a million fucking hours. But now I have a full gym, so I'm good.
But you need, again, if you need to come back in your routine. Maybe again work with like with a meal company. I mean, I say always there's 2 options. You have enough time to cook, or when you don't have time, but then you have money. Because when you have both, when you don't have both, then you do something wrong in your life. So when I work a lot and have no time, then I at least have money. Then I can order food. When you don't have money, then go cook your food. So there is Like there is nothing between. When then you do something wrong in your life.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I do it. If I'm like, okay, there's literally, people talk a lot about not having time to do stuff. Most people have a lot of fucking time to do stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, so much time. And sometimes I'm a little bit jealous of that time, but I really like my life, so it's okay. But I don't have time. You know, when I'm not at work, I'm either walking my dog, training, dealing with more stuff at work, even though I'm not physically at work. And then I'm trying to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Wow.
Trying.
You sleep, yeah. I mean, 8 hours. I don't believe you sleep 8 hours till the opening.
You know, I don't actually sleep 8 hours,
No.
but I'm trying. I sleep more like 4 or 5 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see how much Monster I consume and Rain, you know that I don't sleep 8 hours a night.
That destroys your sleep. Like in prep, when I drink something caffeinated, like after 2, 3, I can't sleep.
3 o'clock's my cutoff for caffeine.
Yeah, and I mean,
as I've gotten older,
I obviously have also other substances who drive my heart rate. Combined with caffeine, it's getting like insane. I can't sleep anymore.
Yeah, that's why 3 o'clock I'm like, all right, cool. I can't even take stimulant pre-workouts or anything anymore, because if I did, I would die and never sleep again.
So I forget in the beginning. I start normally my podcast always how I met you, and I know exactly how I met you. That was my aunt. I was like walking around, and I saw you, and you were like really badass. Like you knew everybody around you was asking who you are, what you doing, like your look, your attitude. And then I said something I think about your tattoos. Because I was searching that time at tattoo studio, and I thought like, let me ask you because you have so much tattoos. Funny like that, then we became friends, and you brought me like one time a random pack of bakery, and I was so surprised how tasty they were. Like we were literally, I was between my workout and I was going to the front desk, eat a little bit, come back, and it was like I thought that's not possible. How is that vegan? Like that.
Yeah.
And
Magic.
That's the part of your business, but you also reached a lot with weight loss. I mean, I can imagine when you work in Publix, you worked a lot. Like how many hours did you work? You told me
when I retired from Publix, I was working about 85 hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, then you're gonna eat shit food, obviously.
Absolutely.
Not so stressed. Like you when there was the point that you said, okay, I don't want to be anymore a fatty. Sorry that I say that, but you know,
I didn't realize how fat I had gotten. I had no idea. I thought I only needed to lose like 20 or 30 pounds because I never stepped on scales, right?
mm-hmm.
And so I literally had no fucking clue. So I don't remember what the time was. I think it was like around when John and I got married was when we really kind of first started. So about 10, I think we got married 8 years ago. So that's when I was like, I looked at our wedding pictures and I was like, you know, I had like 3 chins. And it was honestly like, I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is not good. So John and I started, we went on a trip to Vancouver to visit one of my best friends, Jen. And my legs had swollen up so badly on that trip because I have really bad circulation from being an IV drug user and killing off half my veins, and just being morbidly obese. And she had lost a bunch of weight by doing like fitness boot camps. And so she was like, okay, you know, we need to start doing something. And she really kind of like poked and prodded very nicely and lovingly encouraged me to start doing something. And John had started going to American Combat Club in Orlando a little bit prior to that. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. But I was so scared. Like, I was fucking terrified. Like, you know, I've never been athletic in my entire life. I've never done sports. I've never, ever done anything like that. You know, I was the kid that read. I can read an entire book in 2 hours, but I'm not athletic. I'm not athletically gifted. I can't run. You're lucky I can ride a bicycle. Like, not my jam. And so it was really hard for me to start doing these Metcons. But so we went to American Combat Club, and Vinny would write out every day. He'd have our workout out of the day, and he'd have the Metcon. And it would be like cool things like tire drags and tire flips and tire sledgehammers and like burpees and push-ups in like 15 different varieties and random different kinds of squats and deadlifts and stuff. And the thing that really stood out for me was all of the strength stuff I was very naturally good at. I've always been fairly strong. So the strength stuff, I was like, oh, I really like this. And so they'd have like the women's prescribed weights and the men's prescribed weights, and I would always do the men's stuff. And Vinny finally, he was like, hey, I'm going to have you, because you like doing the weightlifting part so much and you're so strong, I think you should start doing some weightlifting to kind of throw that in there. So he would write me programs. But all of the programming he wrote me was metabolic conditioning lifting. So it was like lifting for training to fight. So I was also doing boxing classes at that time. Not like fitness boxing classes, but like actual like fighting in a cage boxing classes. And so I would go to the gym every day and go to American Combat Club. So I would train twice a day, every day. And I met this girl there, and she was like, hey, I don't know why you're lifting like this. This is weird. And I had to explain to her that I was lifting that way because I was lifting for American Combat Club. And she was like, well, you should try powerlifting. So I switched over to more of like a powerlifting focus. And then I got injured. I know it's shocking. I separated a ligament in my chest while deadlifting. So I heard like a spring in my head, and all of a sudden my chest plate was up like an inch. Yeah, it was fucking painful as shit. And then I had also separated a ligament in my bicep, so I couldn't straighten my arm for about 2 years. Wow. And so I was like, okay, maybe powerlifting's not for me. And I fought for squats for years. And you and I actually just talked about this last night. For years, I couldn't squat to depth. And no one could fucking explain to me why I couldn't. I tried every mobility exercise. I tried literally everything to be able to squat. And I never could, because my knees track way over my toes. And if they don't, I'm falling over. And everybody's like, you don't squat properly. You're, you know, this stuff, you can't squat like that. So finally, just recently, I found out it's just because my femurs are long as fuck. And if I don't have my heels massively elevated, not a squat wedge, but like massively elevated, there's no way I'm going to squat anyway.
Yeah, I have the same problem. Like, I have also a problem, like when I squat without the ramp, it goes all the way in my lower back because I have very long legs. So my feet are very high. So I don't feel it at all in my legs. It's all going in my lower back.
Same. With a ramp, I'm fine.
Yeah, me too.
So now I have to completely learn how to squat again with a ramp.
Yeah, but it makes so much fun because you actually feel your quads again, and not your ass and your lower back and your hamstrings.
Yep, I'm pretty excited about that. So, I did the powerlifting thing for a little while, and then a lot of the people that went to my gym were competitive bodybuilders, and I realized that I really liked the aesthetic more. So I would show Vinny pictures of really muscular girls, and he'd be like, you don't want to look like a man. And I was like, No, I do, Vinny, but I do. So I really started focusing on bodybuilding, and finally, because powerlifting is not about getting your meals and your food in line. Like
Yeah.
it's not a key player in that. So many of my friends were like professional level bodybuilders. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start doing this. So I started I've worked with a couple different coaches over the years, and then couldn't figure out why it was such a huge struggle for me to lose weight. Like every other girl would lose like 20 pounds in a month or two, and I fucking struggle so hard. So finally I mentioned it to my OBGYN, my lady part doctor, and he was like, oh, well, let's test you for polycystic ovaries. And I was like, what? Because this stuff isn't ever talked about. Women's health is not talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So he went and he did the exam, and he was like, oh yeah, no, you definitely have PCOS. So he suggested I take metformin, and I didn't want to. I don't know what bullshit reason I made up in my head not to take it, but I decided not to take it. Then eventually I ended up getting on it, but it made so much sense that now I had,
What is that? The
PCOS?
Yeah.
Polycystic ovary syndrome has a couple different side effects for women. It fucks up your hormones pretty badly. So I've never had a regular menstrual cycle at all. But also women with PCOS have an impossible time losing weight. So it doesn't matter how hard I work, I have to work twice as hard as anyone else trying to lose weight. So now I take metformin because I should have been taking metformin, because it makes you insulin resistant.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not processing carbohydrates or well or anything like that. So not only do I have to work harder than most people, like when I'm dieting, I was down to like fucking 800 calories towards the ends of cuts. So I have to like find that happy place in a reverse diet after I've been cutting for a while, and then get a little chunky again, because I can't stay there. But I also rebound so quickly because of PCOS, and I wasn't taking my metformin. I got really busy and forgot to fucking take it, and then didn't even realize I wasn't taking it for like probably a month and a half or 2 months. My doctor called me and was like, hey, you need a refill on your metformin. I was like, no. Oh, fuck. Yeah, no, I do. But also I haven't been taking it.
I take that.
So
I'm taking that before bed. So my coach.
Yeah, I take it in the morning and at night.
My coach described me for taking before bed.
Yeah, I'm supposed to take it at both times. And then I also am mildly hypothyroid. So I basically, everything in my body wants to be fat.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, it's great.
What the most people don't know is like one of my coaches fucked up my period 2014. So I need to take my whole life now period medicine. Like mine doesn't work at all. Yeah.
Really?
Since 2014, I take every day because that's like a mindfuck. When you don't take it, it doesn't work.
Yeah. My sister doesn't have a thyroid, so.
Yeah, like we tested it a couple times and it's like it's not working. And yeah.
That's
but
great.
I take it every day. Like I'm not like you.
I'm really bad with that stuff.
No, I'm not.
Sometimes like I'll be going to bed and I'm just fucking tired and I just want to lay down, and the idea of having to take my fucking vitamins and supplements and stuff before I go to bed is actually just like exhausting. So I convince myself not to take those things. And then I'm like,
you need to do those vitamin boxes already.
Oh, yeah. I'm great when I have that done.
Well, you need to put it next to your bed. Then it's even not a long way, Like put a bottle of water.
That's what I do now. I literally have a bottle of water that sits on my dresser, and that's, before I even wake up and can make excuses why I'm not going to take it, I just Do it.
Yeah, I mean, I would never skip it because I know I would get fat when I would skip the thyroid medicine. Like, I would,
Yeah, weird.
yeah. But how much weight did you lose? Like till like before your opening, I know you had a lot of stress. You couldn't look at your food, but how much was the end product? Like you did a photo shoot. I'm also gonna blend here like the different. Can you send me a picture how you look before and at the end, so that people
Yeah.
know how big the difference is. So we
Yeah,
can,
I'll find some good afters.
yeah.
Um, all in all told, it's hard to tell because I've gained so much muscle. So like I started out at about 310 pounds. And that's not 310-pound male bodybuilder.
Yeah, that's
That's 310 pounds of just I've never exercised in my life. And then I hover around 200. Um, the leanest I've ever gotten was like 185, but I carry a lot of muscle mass.
still that's
So,
125 pounds.
huh?
That's 125 pounds.
So technically,
It's
my lean mass prior was I remember going to get our lean mass checked, and it was 105 pounds. My lean mass now is 165. So that means that I've put on like 60 pounds of lean mass, which means that I've lost more like 160 pounds.
yeah, yeah. That's how is it to work in a bakery and do a diet?
Um, this is gonna sound so fucked up. I actually don't really like sugar.
How is that possible?
I love salty crunchy. Like if I had to pick one food, one snack food, it would be popcorn all fucking day. No questions asked. 100% it would be popcorn. I fucking love popcorn.
My wife loves popcorn too. I would not eat in 1,000 years popcorn. I would
No?
I wouldn't waste my calories for popcorn.
Oh, I love popcorn
I
so much.
would eat popcorn
I
with
love white kernel popcorn. So fucking good and crispy. It's so delicious.
I would eat those with caramel, like with toffee covered. That's my jam. I would eat those or
No.
kettle corn.
Nope. I sometimes like if I start eating sugar, I'm fucked. But if I'm not eating sugar, I don't want to eat sugar. If I eat a cookie, fuck my life, I will eat 6 cookies that day.
Yeah.
But if I don't start, I'm 100% okay.
Where you're at now? Do you eat?
Right.
Do you eat still stuff that you bake or not?
So
I mean, you can't lie because we see your live stream.
I know.
You
I
are
definitely eat way more bread than I would ever eat. And that this is one of the reasons I actually don't fuck with bread. Because I think everyone on the entire planet can agree that fresh bread is one of the most delicious things ever.
it is.
It's so fucking good when it's hot, not reheated, but when it's hot and has come out of the oven recently.
Yeah, it is.
So good. Like when those pretzels are fucking warm and they're just cooling and they're like all roasty toasty and they've got the everything seasoning on them.
That's what I miss the most from Europe. Like in Switzerland and Germany, we have the best bakery. Like
Yeah,
the
you guys have the best
bread,
bread bakeries. Absolutely.
yeah, the bread here is even not bread for me. Like it's
Yeah.
gross. I miss really real bread. Like we went every Sunday morning buying croissants and fresh bread. That was like I miss that. It's that never the same here.
No, I agree. I agree. When we were in Holland, we probably ate 4 loaves of bread in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just my cousin would be like, "Did you want some do you want some bread?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Did you want some bread?" "Yeah." "Did you want some bread?" "Yeah."
That's insane. Do you have after all that? Do you have any food disorder? Like I can tell I have food disorder, and not anymore that crazy like I had it before, but
Yeah.
sometimes it comes and goes.
So Derek and I were talking about this. I definitely think I have binge eating disorders or a binge eating disorder because when I'm cutting and even when I'm not cutting, if there's like something that I want to eat, sometimes I'll just like black out. And like, you kind of like, you're like a dog. You're just obsessed over that thing and you want to eat it so badly and you're like salivating. And then you've eaten so much of it that you hurt.
Hmm.
And you're like, I just crushed an entire pizza or I just ate an entire box of pasta.
Yeah, I know that very well. So
Yeah. And it's, you know, you try to control it as much as you can, but honestly, like, it's pretty difficult.
yeah, and I'm the person. How I handle is, I think I get then diet ice cream, but eat
Yeah.
like 4 times the amount that I would eat regular, and then I feel the same shit. You know, like I can't like when I do that binge eating extremely. I bought
Yeah.
last week like the pretzel crisp. Do you know those pretzel crisps from? You can buy it even in Publix. Like they are like flat, and then
Oh, yeah, those things are fucking
oh
delicious.
my god, I ate like I started a bag after all the food. I start open the bag and I couldn't stop eating, and I ate the whole bag. Well, I feel after like really bad. Like before I had the baguette, I had like 2 free croissants, ice cream, and like I felt like I can't stop. Like
Yeah, I get it.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have food disorders, but nobody talks about it. And then
I
people
agree with that.
talk about
I
it.
think, especially in our world where we deprive ourselves of so much so often,
Yeah.
we have a tendency to go deep when we allow ourselves. I mean, we've had cheat meals together where we're just like, oh my God, I just ate so much I can't stand.
But you know how much I can eat. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can eat a fucking lot too. I can take down a lot of fucking food.
Yeah, I remember we went to that pizza place. Like I feel so awful, like awful after. Like oh my god.
Oh God, that was probably one of the worst meals. Not the food wasn't terrible, but I remember just like fucking shoving olives into my fucking face and there was fresh bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just
And the
yeah, no, that
pizza,
was
like
bad.
my pizza was the pizza crust was filled with cheese, and
That's right, it was. Yours was.
it was a cheese pizza, and on that on top of that he put mascarpone on the pizza. It was like cheese on top of cheese. My
Yeah,
stomach.
yeah, yours was intense. I remember that. That was hilarious.
That pizza was so. It was delicious. I'm honest, but I feel
It was a
terrible.
lot. Yeah, and I'm trying to not do that anymore, but then like stress eating because of this pandemic is not fucking helping.
You know, but when I'm honest, like the pandemic, I'm really good in that. Like when I know I do less, I eat less. That's why I say
Yeah,
I understand
I
when
don't do that.
the most people don't have that. But I think that's my food disorder. I eat what I burn. Like that's in my
Yeah.
mind. But the most people don't think about that. They feel like, oh, I eat now more. I have more time. But that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, when I don't have something to look forward to, like training, if I'm not training, I should self-regulate, but I just don't. Uh, because if I'm not training, there's a reason I'm not training. And if I'm not training, it's probably that I'm working 16 hours in a day. And it goes back to that Publix thing, right? So I'm just going to fucking eat whatever that is. And if that means I'm ordering La Vie on Uber Eats 3 days in a row, then I'm ordering La Vie on Uber Eats 3 days in a row. They have really good noodles.
I like to cook them, but I would never order spaghetti or something. That's so easy to cook.
No, La Vie is a Vietnamese restaurant that's local to St. Pete, and the owner is really nice. So I like to support her business. Uh, and they've got really fucking good Vietnamese food.
I need to try it.
Yeah. I'd say come over and you guys can have dinner with me, but you can't because we're not allowed to have friends anymore.
I mean, I can, but my wife can't. So let's plan in a later time, like maybe in June. I don't know how long that take. I really don't believe it's gonna be over next month,
I don't think so either.
but yeah.
We were laughing about how uh, I don't. Everybody's gonna handle this differently, and how everybody handles it is totally up to them. Like I don't give a fuck if you're not making yourself better during this. You do you. However, people need to get through this, fucking do it. But I have built myself a fully equipped gym, and like I showed you last night, I got the like fucking sissy squat, and I got a landmine press and shit. If I don't come out of this better than I am right now, I have fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've invested way too much money in equipment to not be making some fucking progress.
I mean, I need to be honest. I shouldn't say that, but this pandemic was for me a blessing because since then I invested more time in what I wanted to. I am better on my diet. I have new goals, and I still find a way to work out. You know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I made more progress than now than before. Like it's crazy.
I will say I'm a little bit lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I really miss hanging out with you guys, and I really miss Olive, and I only get to see John one day a week. Like I'm a little bit lonely for the companionship of my friends and people close to me.
Yeah,
But
that's also like I need to be honest. Not, I don't want to make this whole virus situation look like that it's fake or whatever. But I am looking the situation completely different than the most people. I see it from that way. When God wants that I have it, or I should have it and die from it, it's gonna happen either way.
yeah,
I can't keep that away with mask or not going out of my. It can happen so fast. You could
well,
literally press the elevator button to bring your dog out, and next moment forget and do this, and you fucking have it. So
yeah,
I'm even not trying. Like I've tried. I don't go to gatherings and stuff or meet people, but when I want to go to Publix, I don't wear any mask. I really give a fuck. I'm only honest. It sounds maybe dumb, but when a friend would tell me let's meet to talk, I would meet him. I mean, when
yeah.
I never live my life like, oh, when that happens, like when I'm scared, why I'm living, like eventually something would happen, it's gonna happen
Yeah.
either way. And I think people are like, they are going so crazy. Like I had sometimes in the elevator, they want to be alone in the elevator. The elevator is so big. And they say, can you not take the next elevator? I say, are you fucking dumb? I'm not going to touch you. The elevator is so big.
Yeah, like, okay, then turn around and face the other direction. Like, we obviously have to make some changes. And everybody has to take this seriously because it is very much a serious thing. There's going to be as much as you can do. And you have to take care of yourself the best you can. I'm not saying, like, go out and hang out with friends, because absolutely don't do that. But like Cammie and I have been going to the park and laying in our hammocks away from other people just because I need to be in the sun.
Yeah.
If I'm not outside, I'm going to end up fucking depressed as shit. So I'm not going to anything where there's large groups of people, and I'm not hanging out with people.
Yeah.
But I am going to go lay out in the sun.
And I tell you something. I have on Friday a podcast with a scientist. He's a specialist for gut health. And the people should be more worried about their health, what they eat and how their gut health is, how their health is, than be scared from touching somebody or being like, when you are healthy, you're then the chance is very small that something happens. Then when you should,
Rita.
yeah, you shouldn't like, you shouldn't do anything like go to people and stuff. Like I'm bodybuilder. I'm most of the time at home. I work out at home. But when I want to go to Publix, I'm not going to wear any mask. I'm only home.
I will start because I am in contact with a lot more people than you are, because we are still open and dealing with customers. So potentially I could be a carrier.
I mean,
and I could be an asymptomatic carrier. So I will wear a mask. I have a couple coming in the mail tomorrow, finally, because it's not that I don't get sick. It's so if I have something, I'm not making somebody else sick.
And you work in the in the business, like you have a business, like you meet people. Who do I meet? Like I'm literally 24 hours at home. That's why I'm doing the podcast. Like I have really literally nothing to do. I mean, I enjoy it. But what I want to say is the health. Like the people don't see. They need to be healthy right now to also support the situation. Like to eat shit and stay at home and don't do any activity makes the problem even bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have like on Friday, and that's why we're gonna do that interview. Gut health. Everything starts with your gut health. When you eat like shit, you're gonna feel like shit, and your health is gonna be shit. And
God, I remember so many times feeling like shit and feeling when I was just eating trash. I just remember how awful my stomach always felt.
Yeah, and that's why I think people should use that time to take care of themselves instead of using an excuse and do nothing. Go for a walk. Who cares? Like, who do you meet on a walk? I go every morning an hour for a walk in St. Pete. And like, when I wouldn't do that, I would go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. At least go breathe some fresh air. And I avoid the fuck out of people when I'm walking, Rita. And like, people that aren't taking it seriously, you can tell though, because like you'll be walking on the same sidewalk and I'll cross onto the road and they give you like weird side eye and you're like, 6 feet, motherfucker, 6 feet.
Yeah, I get it. But like sometimes it's getting in a rude way. Like I said, they want to be alone in the elevator, but the elevator is so huge, you know? Like there's no chance. I'm like 10 feet away from you. But they're so paranoid, like I want to be alone in that elevator. Like, okay. I mean, when God wanna kill you, it's gonna happen either way. So
well, I gotta go take care of this little doggo.
Yeah, let's don't talk about this. It makes me only more depressed. Thank you for taking time.
No problem.
What do you want to say to the people? Like you're a big motivation for me. Like it shows me you can start from zero and be like everything. You know, you have a family, you have dogs. You don't need kids. You have 2 businesses. Your health is good. You are looking good. You're married. What do you give for people for advice? Like maybe somebody's now in a hole. He lost his job because of the situation, or I don't know. Like,
I think that one of the biggest things is people dwell on things that have already happened. If something has already happened, there's no point in sitting and being upset about it because all you can do is learn a lesson from that and move forward. I've lost everything in my life multiple times. And when I mean everything, when I lived on the street, my backpack, where literally every possession of mine was in, somebody stole it like 2 or 3 times. I've completely crashed. I moved to the United States and had nothing. And then when I got divorced, I had nothing. You can't dwell on things that have already happened. You have to look at everything that happens as a lesson and move the fuck on from it. Yeah, you can feel bad about it and you can be upset about it, but you can't dwell on it and let it ruin everything in your future. Figure it out, move the fuck on, put your big girl pants on, and fucking deal with your shit. And figure out how to not make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And I don't give a fuck. Not everybody wants to be a multiple business owner person. And it's not for everyone. But figure out what makes you happy and what makes you tick and what you want and fucking do it. Because you're only going to get to do this once. So do you really want to be laying there, dying, thinking, man, I really wish I would have taken a fucking shot? Just fucking do it. That's it.
last thing. So we wanted to do a food challenge I wanted to do a food challenge with Valhalla together. So now I give it to the hands of the people who watch it. By 50 likes in that video, we are gonna plan a food challenge. I'm gonna eat whatever Celine thinks I should eat.
I'm gonna make you a whole cake.
A carrot cake. Or
Okay, because it's vegetables.
I like, yeah, and I like carrot cake too.
Okay, we'll make you a whole carrot cake. You got to eat the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the deal. By 50 likes, we are gonna do a food challenge by Valhalla.
All right, let's do this.
When you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Go to her store; it's still open. I mean, desserts are essential. It's more important right now because we are unhappy. So
Come eat snacks.
Yeah. I wish you a great night. I hope I see you soon. And
I miss you guys.
maybe we can work out at some point again together. Say hi to John and your dogs.
I will. I'll talk to you later, bud.
Bye.
Bye.